What if a stranger knocked on your door in the middle of a snowstorm and claimed that one of the shivering little girls beside her was your daughter? Would you believe her? Would you let them in or send them back into the night? This isn't just a story about three orphan girls. It's about a man who had shut the world out after tragedy until fate forced him to face a past he thought was long buried. But what begins as a mysterious letter soon unravels into something much deeper, a secret hidden by powerful men, a mother's last wish, and a fight that could destroy or save an entire family. Stay with us, because what happens after this door opens will shock you, break you, and in the end, maybe heal you. What would you do if it happened to you? Let's find out together. The wind howled through the empty hollows of Red Hollow that night, tugging at the loose boards of Eli Barrett's old farmhouse. Snow swept in sideways, blanketing the ground in silence and sealing the world in white. Eli sat by the fireplace, as he did every winter evening, boots off, calloused hands wrapped around a chipped mug of coffee, his worn flannel shirt absorbing the heat he hadn't felt in years, not since Anna died. He wasn't expecting visitors. No one ever came this far up Briar Hill unless they were lost in trouble or ghosts from the past. So when a frantic knock sounded at the door, 3 sharp bangs, he froze. Another knock. He grabbed the old shotgun from beside the mantel, not for use, just habit. But what he saw when he opened the door made him lower the barrel instantly. 3 little girls, barely clothed, shivering, soaked in snow, cheeks flushed red with cold and fear. The tallest, around 12, stepped forward. "Are you Eli Barrett?" "I am," he said, voice thick. "Who are you?" "I'm Clara. This is Maisie, and this is Nora." She hesitated. "Our mama? She died this morning." Eli's heart skipped. "She told us to come here." Clara continued, teeth chattering. She said, "You might help." Before he could speak, the smallest girl, Maisie, burst into tears and collapsed to her knees. He didn't think. He acted. He pulled them all inside, wrapping each in wool blankets. Maisie clung to his neck as he carried her toward the fire. He found a pair of dry socks for Clara, and Nora, quiet and observant, watched everything with eyes far too knowing for her age. He heated up soup, then made them share his bed while he curled up in the armchair, unsure if this was all real. Just before dawn, Clara handed him something. It was a letter, folded neatly, stained with something that looked like blood or rust. "Dear Eli, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Please don't turn them away. One of them is yours. Nora. She's your daughter. I never told you before it wasn't right, but now it's the only right I have left to give. Take care of her, and the others too if you can. Grace." Eli didn't sleep at all that night. He sat by the dying fire with the letter trembling in his hand, replaying every memory of Grace Alden from over a decade ago. How they loved in secret, how life pulled them apart, how she disappeared without a goodbye. And now this, Nora, his daughter. When the sun rose, Clara helped Maisie into the kitchen while Nora sat across from him. She stared into his eyes. "You don't remember Mama much, do you?" "I remember more than you'd think," he whispered. "She said you were the kindest man she'd ever known. But you broke her heart." That hit deeper than he expected. The door creaked as Mason Tucker, his nearest neighbor, stepped inside without knocking as usual. "Eli," he said, stomping off snow. "Your horses were out. You all right?" Then he saw the girls. Mason blinked. "What the? Are you babysitting?" Eli swallowed. They're mine now." Mason stared at him, eyes narrowing. "You sure about that?" "No," Eli admitted, "but I think I'm about to find out what kind of man I really am." And with that, the entire life Eli thought he had buried 6 feet under with Anna began to shift. What he didn't know was that this knock on the door was not just about discovering a daughter or sheltering lost children. Behind it hid something much darker, a fight for land, a legacy, and a secret someone powerful didn't want unearthed. Because someone was watching, and they were not pleased to see those girls inside that house. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. What would you do if 3 little strangers showed up at your doorstep with a letter revealing you had a secret daughter? Would you open the door or your heart? Comment below. Where are you watching this from? Type yes if you believe in second chances. Like, share, and drop 100 if this story touched you already. 3 days passed. The snow hadn't let up, but inside Eli Barrett's farmhouse, warmth had returned in more ways than one. The girls no longer flinched at loud noises. Clara even laughed once when Maisie dropped mashed potatoes into Eli's boot. Nora spent hours staring out the window, sketching something quietly into a worn notebook, always glancing at Eli when she thought he wasn't looking. But just as their little cocoon began to feel like a home, the outside world came knocking again. A black SUV pulled up the icy path to Eli's porch. It was too sleek for these back roads, too clean. Eli stepped out with his coat half-buttoned and heart uneasy. The man who emerged was tall, dressed in woolen leather, with a clipboard tucked under one arm. His name was Marcus Dent, a representative from the Shaw Development Group, a company Eli knew all too well. Mr. Barrett, Marcus said, not bothering to introduce himself fully. "We're here on behalf of Frank Delaney." Eli's jaw clenched. "You can tell Frank I'm not selling." Marcus gave a half smile. "This isn't about you selling. This is about a lien placed on this land 10 years ago by Grace Alden. Before she passed, she borrowed against it. And now that she's gone, the deed has transferred." "To who?" Eli asked sharply. "To us," Marcus said. "The Shaw Group." Eli stepped back, heart pounding. "Grace never told me maybe she didn't trust you anymore," Marcus said coolly. "Or maybe she knew it was too late. Either way, as of this morning, you're trespassing. And those children, they're squatters." Inside, Clara was watching through the curtain. Nora stood beside her. "Daddy, Eli," she whispered. "What's going on?" Eli didn't answer. He stared down the man who now claimed to own everything under his boots, including the only piece of Grace he had left. "You've got until Friday to clear out," Marcus said as he turned to leave. "Or we'll file with the county. You know how quick they move when Frank's involved." That night, Eli didn't sleep. Again. Instead, he went digging. Through papers, through old letters, through a box he hadn't touched since Grace disappeared from his life. Inside, tucked between pages yellowed with grief, was something odd, a receipt. Handwritten. Dated the same week Grace signed the lien. A payment. In full. Why would she pay and the land still be taken? The next morning, he drove straight to the town clerk's office. The girl behind the desk barely looked up. "That file's sealed," she muttered when he asked for the deed history. "By order of county court." "Only the owner or legal guardian can." "I am the legal guardian," he said through clenched teeth. "I'm Nora's father." The girl blinked. "You got proof?" Eli opened Grace's letter. Her handwriting, the loops, the curves. The pain was clear. But the clerk shook her head. "That's not legal proof. You'd need a court declaration or a DNA test on file." He left empty-handed and boiling. Outside, a familiar voice stopped him. Dana Cooper, Nora's school teacher, stood by her car holding grocery bags. "You look like a man about to punch a judge," she said. "I might," Eli muttered. Dana studied him. "I heard about the land, about the girls. Look, this town may be small, but people talk. Frank Delaney's been buying off this land one grieving widow at a time. Grace wasn't the first." Eli stiffened, and no one stopped him. Dana's face softened. No one could. But maybe now someone will. Back at home, Nora handed Eli a drawing. It was of the house, but with light pouring from the windows. In the picture, he stood with the girls on the porch, arms around them all. Above, she'd written one word: safe. That's when Eli knew. He wasn't just fighting for property. He was fighting for a promise. That night, he called an old friend in a nearby town, Cameron Ellis, now a small-town attorney, with a reputation for taking on bullies. "We don't have money," Eli said. "I don't need money," Cameron replied. "I need justice." The next morning, Eli woke the girls early. He loaded them into the old red truck, heart thudding. They were headed to town, to fight, to prove that not everything in Red Hollow could be bought. What do you think would happen if a powerful man tried to steal your land? And your family? Would you walk away quietly or fight back with everything you had? Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. Let us know in the comments. What country are you watching from? Like and share if you believe family isn't made by blood, but by love. The courtroom smelled of paper dust and something colder: power. Eli Barrett sat on the wooden bench, shoulders, square jaw tight. Beside him, Cameron Ellis tapped nervously on a manila folder full of documents they weren't sure would be enough. Across the aisle sat Marcus Dent, and at the very end of the row, Frank Delaney himself, arms folded, face unreadable beneath his expensive coat. Nora sat between Clara and Maisie in the gallery, her small hands gripping the edge of the pew, like she was holding on to the very roof above their heads. Dana Cooper had come two-seated just behind them, a quiet pillar of support. The judge entered and the room rose. His name was Judge Raymond Holloway, a stern man with silver hair and a reputation for being incorruptible, one of the few left in Red Hollow's tangled web. Cameron stood. "Your Honor, today, we are not just here to dispute a land deed. We are here to protect 3 young girls from being evicted from the only home they have, a home their mother entrusted before her death to the only man she believed would protect them." He placed Grace's letter on the podium. Though unconventional, this letter clearly states that Nora Barrett is the biological daughter of Eli Barrett. More importantly, it makes one thing painfully clear: Grace Alden tried to do right by her child. But someone stood in the way. Frank's lawyer objected, calling the letter hearsay, but then Cameron pulled out the receipt. "Your Honor, this is a handwritten record of payment. Grace paid off the lien in full. This document was never entered into county records. We believe, in fact, that the Shaw Group intentionally blocked it, knowing that Grace was vulnerable and without legal defense." Judge Holloway narrowed his eyes. "Are you suggesting fraud?" "I'm suggesting something worse," Cameron said. "I'm suggesting exploitation. And now these children orphans are being told to get out in the middle of winter so this man," he pointed at Frank, "can build another lakeside resort." The silence that followed was loud. Frank stood. "With all due respect, these are dramatic accusations with no legal merit. This is business. The woman took a loan and defaulted. That's what happened." But Holloway didn't flinch. He turned to Eli. "Do you have any proof that Nora is your biological child?" Eli stood slowly. "No, I have no test, no certificate, but I have something else." He turned and met Nora's eyes. "I have her heart. I have her trust. She wakes me in the morning when my old bones ache. She draws pictures of us not because I asked her to, but because that's the life she wants. I didn't ask for this. I didn't expect it. But I would burn this whole town to the ground before I'd let anyone rip her away from me." Gasps filled the courtroom, but Holloway simply nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Barrett. That'll be enough." 2 hours later, the judge returned with his verdict. This court finds sufficient evidence of misconduct in the handling of the lien. The property deed is hereby frozen pending further investigation. In the meantime, legal guardianship of Clara Maisie and Nora Alden is granted to Mr. Eli Barrett until a formal custody hearing can be scheduled. Frank stormed out. Marcus followed, his mask of confidence shattered. Eli sat down numb. And then Nora ran to him. She wrapped her arms around his middle, and for the first time in years, he let the tears fall. Outside, the snow had stopped. The next week, things began to change. Dana started a petition in town to investigate Shaw development. Cameron helped organize a community legal aid center. Mason fixed Eli's fence without being asked. And folks who once kept their distance started dropping by with casseroles, toys, even firewood. Red Hollow had started to wake up. Clara enrolled in school again. Maisie started singing at breakfast. Nora put her drawings in frames and hung them around the house. And one morning, as Eli stepped out with his coffee, he found a new mailbox by the road. A note was taped to it for Barrett family: "Welcome home." Months later, the court officially recognized Eli as Nora's legal father. Clara and Maisie, though not biologically, his refused to be separated. So Eli did what no one expected from the quiet man at the top of Briar Hill. He adopted them both. Their last name became Barrett, and the house, once dark and silent, echoed with laughter, spilled cereal, and bedtime stories about horses' bravery and second chances. One night as Eli tucked them in, Nora whispered, "I think Mama sent us to the right place." Eli kissed her forehead. "I think she did too, sweetheart." And just before he turned off the light, he noticed a new drawing on the wall. This time it showed a big family on a porch bathed in golden light. There were chickens, dogs, and even Mason waving a hammer. At the center was Eli smiling, surrounded by 3 daughters with hearts full of hope. Because in the end, it wasn't blood that made them a family. It was love, it was choice, and it was the courage to open a door that would change everything. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. What did this story mean to you? Did it touch your heart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know if this story moved you. Please hit like, share it with someone who needs hope, and comment. 100 if you believe every child deserves a safe home.